What is going on, YouTube? Thanks for stopping by my channel. My name is James. This is Home Remedy Fitness. We've got a good one today for us in the books. It's gonna be a 30-minute full body dumbbell workout. I just used a pair of 30s. Started feeling like a pair of 50s by the end of it. Grab something you're comfortable with. We're just gonna be going through 3 groups of movements, each of which are gonna be incorporating the full body. So whether it's a primal movement, a core movement, squat, lunge pattern, or overhead movement. Minimal rest periods, 30 seconds rest between each of our working sets, 4 sets each. So very simple as far as the rep schemes, as far as the programming for this one, but the sweaty one. So go ahead, grab your water bottle, grab yourself a mat, grab yourself those dumbbells. Let's get started.
inside the rabbit hole. Set me free from you. Somebody please keep me from twisted. Keep me from twisted. Keep me from twisted. Keep me from somebody please keep me from twisted. Keep me from twisted. Keep me from twisted. Somebody please help me. Keep me from twisted. Keep me from twisted. Keep me from twisted. Keep me from somebody please keep me from twisted.
Excellent job, folks. That was good. A little different as far as the programming for that one. Keeping the rest intervals to a minimum. Kind of like a Tabata, you know, we're getting through the working sets as quickly as we can, and then rest for a little bit. It's not going too crazy with the reps, but constantly keeping the tension on those muscle groups. I kind of liked it. I think with the Tabata, or the EMOMs, you're just fixated on the time, watching that ticker, you know. With this one, it kind of shifts the attention away from the time, more towards the sets, the reps. You can focus on that, take whatever time that you need for that. Let me know in the comments if you kind of like this protocol as well, because we can play around with it a bit more. Then a little bit of core at the end. Definitely trying to incorporate a little bit more core work here for us. Let me know what y'all think. If there's anything that I missed that you would like seeing in upcoming videos, you let me know. Trying to add that in next go around. If there's anything that you love, appreciate the support, continue following, like it, subscribe it, send it to somebody else that you think might get a kick out of it. We'll keep this thing going, all right? See y'all next week. This is an excellent full body movement if you're looking to kind of incorporate more of a metabolic conditioning aspect to things, as well as, you know, get some explosivity, some power movement. We're looking at an alternating single arm double press. So if we're familiar with burpees, let's kind of picture that, but just throw a dumbbell into the mix. If we have one dumbbell, let's set it down, situate it down on one side, either kick the legs out or you can do a jump depending on your fitness level. Do your push-up, want to do a push-up? Again, depending on your fitness level, you can just kick the legs out into a high plank position, work yourself back into it. When we are back up over the dumbbell, we're gonna get a little bit of a swing going. So let's say the dumbbell's on our right side. Let's get some momentum, hinge at the hip, soft bend in the knees. And then when it gets to that terminal point in the back, that's when all systems engage. Let's fire the hips, let's engage the glutes, let's extend everything and pull ourselves up under that dumbbell. So that'll be that portion of the burpee, if you will. So after we snatch it, getting up overhead, you can do two variations. To get it back down, you can rack it into that front rack position and then lower it down on the ground. If you're a little bit more comfortable with that overhead positioning, you can just swing it right from the top part down onto the ground, alternate sides. Kind of like a burpee, getting a snatch involved. The whole time we're just trying to be mindful of our hip positioning, our core positioning, everything like that, especially with it being unilaterally loaded. So just be mindful of that, make sure our ribs aren't flaring out, make sure we're not all cockeyed off to one side, even though you have that weight distribution a little bit uneven on you. Snatch, burpee, single arm double press. Great movement if we are looking to build a little bit more flexibility, durability in our wrists, improve proprioception from our regular body weight. We're looking at a bear stance rollover into a tabletop press. So I've discussed the bear stance previously in other videos on this channel, so we're just gonna build upon that. So we're gonna go ahead, start off in that quadruped position. So hands on the ground, feet on the ground, knees underneath our hips, shins being as horizontal to the ground as we can get them. So that'll be our bear positioning, that'll be our start off point, and that'll be be our home base. So let's go ahead, let's rotate. Let's start off by going over to our right side. So left hand's gonna come off the ground, left foot's gonna come off the ground, and we are going to externally rotate our shoulder. We're gonna create a little bit of tension, pressing hard into the ground so we're not, as we're rotating around, getting all shruggy, that shoulder's not coming up on us. So create that space, create that nice stability as we rotate over into that rollover position. And then we're gonna drive both of our heels into the ground, try and get our hips up high like a glute bridge. Same idea, maintaining that tension on that right arm now. So that's pressing down, engaging the lats, traps, lower traps, triceps, extending that arm, and then with the opposite arm, we're gonna try and reach up for this guy. So that'll be your tabletop positioning. Same idea, repeat the process on the reverse side of things. So rolling back over into that bear position, roll over onto our left arm, extend up with our right arm. It's a fun one, really good for scapular health, obliques, glutes, core, proprioception like I had mentioned. Bear rollover into a tabletop press. Sweet little variation to a plank positioning, a mountain climber. If we're looking to incorporate more of our obliques, generate a little bit more metabolic output, maybe create a little bit more mobility in that thoracic spine as well. We're just looking at a cross-body mountain climber. If we situate ourselves, we're gonna be up in that high plank position, creating space between our shoulders and our ears, straight line from the heels all the way up to the head. So that's gonna be our default positioning. So that'll be the nice high plank position we're looking for, squeezing our glutes, everything's nice and engaged. And the cross-body aspect of this is just going across the body. So driving a knee up to the opposite side elbow. We're almost making an X, if you can picture that, knees to the elbows, going across. Getting a good flexion, right, of that lumbar spine, getting a little bit of flexion up in the thoracic area as well. Really trying to get a good crunch, tucking that tailbone up underneath you. And some options here for us, you can play around the tempo. So if you're really trying to get that heart rate up, really trying to burn out, maybe you're in a Tabata, you're only working for 10, 15 seconds and really trying to up the ante. You can really pump those knees out, really drive up that intensity level. Or if you're looking to focus more so on tempo, more so on control, contractions, and really feel out this movement, you can definitely slow it down, give it about a 1-2 Mississippi, really squeeze it, extend slowly, focus on the eccentric portion of things. But all in all, we want to keep our hips nice and level, great for the lower core, getting some shoulder stability and increasing the metabolic output. Taking a look at a lower body movement, it's going to be a front racked alternating curtsy lunge. So we're going to grab our dumbbells, we're going to move up into that front rack position. So if you are unfamiliar with a front rack, it's just a high position rack. So we can use it with a kettlebell, we can use it with a barbell. Today we're using our dumbbells. So we're gonna have our forearms, try and stay as vertical as we can, really drive those elbows ahead, shoulders pinned down. We don't want to bear hug the weights. We don't want our chest collapsing. So chest up proud, shoulders down, elbows up high, and that'll create a nice shell to allow that weight to be distributed up evenly across our shoulders, across our chest. So if we're moving into a curtsy lunge, trying to be as polite as we can, moving into a curtsy. So let's say the right side is gonna be the working side. Let's go around, let's sweep that left leg around. You don't want to get too lateral, you don't want to get too much depth as well, so find a nice happy medium. You should almost have that left knee almost parallel and in line with that front heel. If we're getting out too far, you might have an inclination to rock that front knee forward, lose that stability. If we are too lateral, now we're doing like a funky side split. We get too much depth, then we're just moving into a regular lunge. So the curtsy, we're trying to focus more on the abductors, get a good stretch of the adductors, and just create some single leg strength and stability on that one side for our core to fire up. So if you find that spot, then as we return into that neutral position, we're trying to kick outwardly. So again, really working that glute med, really trying to stabilize in our core, being that our base of support is a little bit uneven being in that curtsy position. So once we drive up to center, peeking onto the other side. Something to be mindful of here is having our chest collapse, like what I mentioned before, and then favoring into that one knee. So if we're in that curtsy position, we may have an inclination as well to lean into that front leg. So just stay strong in that, keep our chest up, keep our hips rotated down, and just alternating between side to side. Taking a peek at a variation of a pulling movement, that's going to be an alternating gorilla row. If we are situated in a deadlift position, feet a little bit wider than hip placement, right? We're going to have a soft bend in the knees, trying to have the weight in our heels. We're going to let our chest fall down, hips go back. So a nice proper hinge positioning, maybe even, heel toe out just a little bit more than what you would typically do for a row. We're just doing some bent over rows. And the only difference to this being that it is a gorilla row, we're looking for a little bit more as far as thoracic thoracic rotation. So typically when we're doing a row, if we are hand supported, chest supported, we're doing both hands doing the rowing, we want to maintain nice proper alignment. We're not shifting anything. Shoulders aren't getting crazy traditionally in rows. But if we're looking at this gorilla row right here, we're trying to accentuate and trying to get a little bit of rotation into that thoracic spine, really trying to get a good squeeze in those lats, getting some scapular movement as well as we pull it past typical amount for a row. So if we are in our setup position, when we row, you almost want to picture if you have headlights on your shoulders, try and light up the opposing walls when you're doing your rows. So as we rotate, really try and squeeze. Hips are staying level. Our knees are not tracking with us to that rowing side. So try and keep everything down south as stable as we can. And then up top, the thoracic spine is what's generating all of the movement. So as you squeeze, good rotation, give it about a 1 count on that side. So keeping our shoulders pinned down, driving hard through our elbow on that dumbbell up into our back pocket. So we're not getting too shruggy. We're not letting our traps overactivate. Nice strong pulling movements, good rotation. That'll be alternating gorilla row. Variation to a pushing, pressing overhead movement. So I'm sure you've seen an Arnold press in like the pumping iron videos back in the day. So we're going to be incorporating that movement, which targets all heads of our deltoids, just placing it down on the ground, adding in a curl and a full kneeling position. So why do a full kneeling position? Well, typically if we're in a seated positioning, we can drive hard through our heels, get the quads, get the glutes, get the full body kind of enacted to help with that driving process. If we're up overhead, if we're in a standing position, as we, begin to fatigue, maybe we might do a little bit of a dip, use some momentum. So just going down at that full kneeling, we're taking every other muscle group out of the equation, so strictly focusing on our upper body, and then a lot more in our core as far as stabilization. So we're still looking to squeeze our glutes and keep our hips rocked forward, but that'll just be mainly to keep everything stable as opposed to help in that press. In our curl position, we're going to do a hammer curl, so thumbs facing you, and then we're going to externally rotate, have those pinkies flare out, palms facing you. At that top position, we are beginning with our palms facing us, and then again we're going to rotate externally once again. So we're getting some good movement there up our shoulders, anterior delts, posterior delts as we externally rotate, and then multiple heads of our bicep as well. So great movement. Definitely going to torch out your arms, but just be mindful of letting our hips sag or letting our chest fall forward, again, letting our butt come back. That would probably be my only pointer for this. So if we're sitting up as tall as we can, trying to squeeze our glutes, rock everything forward. That's just going to help in the long run. The more stable your body is, the more contracted everything is, it's going to be, easier to get through this. So exhale on the hard part, inhale on the easy part. This is a full kneeling Arnold press with a curl. Tricep movement. This is just looking at a supine tricep extension. Some call it skull crushers. I'm keeping it PG. So supine being on your back. We're gonna have our dumbbells maybe about shoulder width apart, palms facing together, thumbs facing us. And then we're just gonna slowly lower ourselves down. We almost wanna keep our shoulder in a fixed position, just flexing at our elbows, right? So we're not doing funky variation of a pullover and letting those shoulders get up overhead, letting our ribs flare up. We're getting those elbows and wrists away from the body, right? So keeping everything nice and compact. Just the elbows are gonna be the ones moving. So we're bringing our thumbs back, try and get them back to about here, or when the dumbbells touch the ground back there. If you do have the mobility for that, if your lats are mobile enough to reach that end point, that's gonna be your goalposts. That's where you wanna be going with the dumbbells. And then as we press upwards, you can go ahead and get a slight external rotation. So palms facing up, really drive through those pinkies to get those dumbbells up. Let's say lacking a little bit of mobility here in our lats, you can definitely move your feet up into a chair position that'll fix your hips and to a more stable positioning and allow a little bit less movement up on top. So if you feel your ribs flaring up, definitely go into that chair position. Or you can even bend them, have a slight bend in the knees, like you're gonna be doing a glute bridge or something. But play around with that, really focus on the squeeze, the external rotation. You're definitely gonna feel those other tricep heads come into play. Supine, tricep extension. Looking at a core movement as well as developing a little bit more tension in the upper body. This is just gonna be a loaded leg raise in the supine position into a hip lift. So we're starting in that supine position, so just laying on our back. Let's have our dumbbells, let's have our kettlebells, whatever we're using for the day. This will be up maybe in the top position of a chest press, right? So we're holding it, elbows under our shoulders, our wrist, right? So everything's nice and stacked. That load is coming directly into ourself. The lower half, that's gonna be the one that's moving. So extend our legs to a point that we can handle within our fitness level. If you can have straight legs and your heels just a little bit above the ground, that's beautiful. If we start going out into that end position and we start feeling our ribs flaring up, we feel a little bit of tension in our lower back, go slightly above that and that'll be your home base. So work within something that isn't putting too much of a load on your lower back. It's not straining anything too wild. So if we're hanging out on our position, have our dumbbell, kettlebell, whatever it is, up over our chest, we're gonna do that extension within reason, come back into a chair positioning, and then we're gonna try and get our legs as vertical as we can. So now we're really working on our hip flexors, lower core, everything to raise up that load, i.e. our legs, and the whole time we're just creating some tension up in our upper body. So to maintain that, we're trying to keep our shoulders down, engage our lower traps, engage our chest, tricep, shoulders, everything to maintain that nice neutral position. Go ahead, fire up that core. And then on the way down, you're lengthening that lever arm within reason again, and that'll just be for our reps. So really targeting our core, looking for our ribs flaring up, being mindful of how our lower back is feeling. Looking at a Starfish Situp, might have different names for it, and this is kind of the first one that came up on Google. We're doing a leg raise, we're doing a sit-up, we're doing a cross body, crunch, whatever you want to call it. It's a Starfish today. So if we are laying, we're gonna have our legs a little bit wider than shoulder width, we're gonna have our arms up overhead, and we're just taking turns making a crisscross, let's say left arm to right leg, vice versa. So what this is great for is proprioception. We're gonna get some lower core development, get some cross body integration, good for the mind, upper core, lower core, shoulders, hip flexors, pretty good. So take your time in between this. A couple things that we're looking for here is shoulder mobility and hip health. So if we're laying in that supine position, our shoulders go overhead and immediately our ribs are flaring out to kind of compensate for our lack of mobility in that overhead positioning. Maybe we can start on the side, or maybe we can start with our hands over our chest so we're not super extending our shoulders and putting any unnecessary strain in that position. We're also looking for legs start to extend, and again our ribs are flaring up and you feel a little bit of tension in our lower back. Maybe your end positioning can have slight bend in the knees or a chair position, so you can have your heels elevated, knees bent as well. So find a place that kind of works for you without putting any strain on you. Again, you can play around with the tempo. If you want to go quicker, if you want to go slower, focus on the eccentric portion of things. Maybe as opposed to letting your heels rest in between our reps, alternating sides, try and keep them elevated. If you do want to, increase the intensity as you extend those legs, just keep them about an inch off the ground. That'll really light things up a little bit more for you. So alternating sides, be mindful of the shoulders, the hips, and the ribs. This is a Starfish Sit-Up.